now, got no play in the steering wheel.
The thread got mashed up.
Such weak wheel fitment. Chip the paint slightly there. Works pretty good. Does look absolutely ridiculous. I might have fried my alternator. Hello and welcome to this video. I'm Marcus Hayes, and today, hopefully, I'm going to be getting Esther, my ST170 powered Mk1 Escort, ready for her MOT test. Maud is looking in her right state after what I did to her yesterday, but I promise she's going to look a whole lot better very soon. Now, half the day has already gone today, to be honest, but I decided to stay in today and spend a bit of time getting the last video ready to upload. Because I'm off work all week this week, I'm going to be doing plenty of stuff on the cars and going to be making plenty of videos. So yeah, I need to stay busy and try and get the videos out as quick as I can. I've only got a very small list of jobs to do on Esther today anyway, before she's ready for her MOT. But last night I remembered one very small part that isn't currently fitted to Esther, and I really hope that I've got one in my garage somewhere. Otherwise it might be a few more days before I can actually put her through her MOT. Alright, so it is literally only a very small list of jobs I need to do on Esther before I can try and get her through an MOT. But I think before I crack on with those jobs, I'm going to try and find the part that I think I might not have. Now that part is, in fact, the little spring that goes in between the steering wheel and this little clip thing that clips into the steering column. Without that spring, then, you know, basically there's play in the steering column and that will fail the MOT. Well, it was in fact very easy to find in Esther's garage. I've got this spare steering column, and on the column is the spring that I was talking about, and also the indicator canceller thing. Yeah, so you've got the spring and then the indicator canceller sitting on top. When that's in that hole, it's not central, so it's not going to work. The other style of one that I've got fitted to Maud, I don't know if that's a Mk2 one or Maud's got a Mk1 one and this is a Mk2 one. Yeah, but it's a different design. It's got like a sort of hook that will work with this. I think I'm just going to have to cut that off. Alright, so I've filed that bit off so it's just flat now. And now we've got no play in the steering wheel. Alright, so staying in Esther's cockpit, the next thing I'm going to fit is this brake light switch, which goes on here. Now I got this from my friends at Burton Power. It didn't actually come with the nut, but luckily I had one in my collection. Now the way this works is it sits in there where your brake pedal is. When you're not pressing the brakes, this plunger is pressed in. And then when you press your brakes, the plunger comes out and then the brake lights go on, and you've literally just got to plug these two wires onto those connectors. Now because you've got this long threaded bit on here, it's basically adjustable. The nut goes on the back. Yeah. I think there's supposed to be two nuts on it actually. Alright, so the only other nut I can find in that thread is a locking one, but alright, this has taken so much longer than I thought it would. Wasted a load of time that I don't have, but yeah, basically it works now how I want it. Got it adjusted the right amount in. I put a washer here just so that the pressure is leading against the nut. You know, these things are plastic. I've actually had to use my second one that I bought because the thread got mashed up. I wasn't able to do it with a locking nut on the back, so basically I nicked a normal nut off of my engine stand, which isn't a locking nut, and yeah, I've been able to do it now. Brake lights work. and it's not too sensitive. Unfortunately, I have to remove these spacers because the wheel studs on this side aren't long enough for it to be safe. There's only a couple of turns on the wheel nuts. I think you need at least 6 turns for it to be safe. Yeah, let's see, literally a couple of turns and it's not on the threads. Yeah, I forgot there's actually not enough room to get these wheels off unless you leave the axle hanging, and I've got it jacked up by the axle. Right, I'm not going to get the axle stands out just to take the wheel spacers off. Just have to do one side at a time and jack it under the chassis. So a little comparison of the fitment before we take this spacer off. But yeah, that's with the spacer and that's without such weak wheel fitment. But it's only temporary, and once I've got the arches rolled, I'll be able to have even better fitment than this side. But for now, this spacer's got to come off as well. Alright, so I've tightened the wheel nuts. Now the car's back on the ground. I've also checked all the wheel nuts on the front wheels. This front tyre is definitely going to need to be pumped up, but for now, let's go into the engine bay. Alright, so first we're going to get rid of this very ugly looking oil cap and replace it for this one that was very kindly painted by my good friend Rob, and he also painted this chassis tag which goes there. So I'm going to rivet that on and also rivet this one on, which goes here. Yeah, I did slip and chip the paint slightly there, but never mind. So stand in the engine bay for a minute. I've got a temporary solution for the radiator overflow pipe. This is some sort of NHS spec pipe. The pipe itself isn't wide enough to go round there. I might try and heat it up. Oh, that actually worked pretty well. I'll just cut this to length. I'm not really sure how well this pipe's going to stand up to hot water, but it is a temporary solution for now. Right, I think now I'm going to see if I can improve this windscreen washer setup. I've got some new pipe, and I've also bought a couple of elbows which might help me with, you know, this bit in particular. Yeah, so I was hoping to sort of be able to buy something like this but in a U shape, but yeah, I've got a couple of these 90-degree angle ones. I'll just cut that pipe there. I've got the one elbow there, and then it's a nice wide bend around there, and then I was able to have it coming under here and then behind this bit of wiring and then into the pump. And what that meant was I only had to use the one elbow because there's enough room there for a nice wide bend. So yeah, that actually looks quite neat. Looks pretty good. Right, so that only leaves one thing on my list that I need to fit to the car before she's actually ready to put for an MOT. It might be something that's not on my list that I'm not thinking about, but I think I've covered everything. And the last piece is the front number plate. Now, I think I'm just going to try and mount it there. This is only a temporary thing. I really want to get like a sticker on the splitter. I think I'm going to try and mount it there with some number plate tape. I'm going to try and use as little as possible just so it's easy to pull off when I do get around to doing something a bit more permanent. But yeah, I think I'm literally just going to put one strip there because that's pretty much the only area that it's going to be touching anyway. So, I mean, I don't want it falling off either, so I don't want to do it too minimal and then risk scratching the front panel if it does come off. Seams on there. It does look absolutely ridiculous, but it'll do for now. Alright, one more little job I need to do in the engine bay. I need to tighten these bonnet pin things, but yeah, I need to get them exactly the right height as well. Alright, so the method I'm using, obviously yet to see if it's going to work, is close the bonnet, and here's the pin here, and if I push down on that, that will kind of replicate what it's going to be like when the nut from the underneath is tightened, so that it's all tightened down. And then I can put a little bit of pressure on the bonnet as well and just see that the pin glides in smoothly, but also, you know, rubs against it so that it's nice and tight. And I think that should be good enough, because when I wind this in another half a turn, the pin isn't actually able to go into this hole. So yeah, I think that is about right on this side. On this side, it looks like I nipped up the nut from the underneath when I was messing about with these, but I know it needs to go down, so I should be able to loosen this nut off from the top. Just wind it up a couple of threads, and then I can wind this down and hold the nut still. Let's go 1 full turn, 1.5 full turns. We'll try that. Down a bit more. Oh, there's a bead. Half a turn more, I think. Right, so now I'll nip the nuts up underneath on both sides and we'll see where we're at. Needs to be bent to the right, and that needs to be bent to the left. Yeah, I think that'll do for now. I think they're both slightly too tight, but I think what I need to do is fit the rubber things that go here, but luckily the Tubby's custom composite bonnets have the riv nut in there for those. So yeah, I think I'll order some of those and then I'll be able to take a little bit of tension off the bonnet pins, because you know the rubber things there will cushion the front and stop it vibrating. But yeah, for now they'll do. I'm pretty sure that Esther is now ready for her M.O.T test. Oh, battery sounds a bit dead. Right, it is as well. Come on, auto whip, don't let me down. Alright, so I've been messing about off camera. It's actually starting to get dark now and I've put Esther away in her garage. She did start with the auto whip jump starter, and then I remembered that for the last few days I haven't been getting the red light on the dash when you turn the key to the first click, which would inevitably mean that the alternator isn't charging when the engine is started. So I pulled the dash out of the car and checked the bulb, and it was actually blown, but then I swapped it for one of the other bulbs in the dash, and I'm still not getting the red light when I turn the key to the first click. Now those of you who've been watching my videos will remember that recently I had the alternator wires leaning against the body when I was trying to connect the battery, so it's possible that I might have fried my alternator. Now, when the car was running a moment ago, after a while it started popping and banging, and I checked the voltage with my voltmeter, and you know the alternator isn't charging the battery. It was only showing 12 point something volts when it should be 14 point something volts. So I'm hoping that the popping and banging is just due to the car running on low voltage. So what I'm going to do now is remove the battery, take it home and charge it, and then I'll come straight back round here tomorrow, and if the car runs without popping and banging, then we can safely say that it was due to low voltage, that it was popping and banging today. I reckon I could get to the M.O.T station and back with a full battery, even if the alternator is not working. But yeah, other than that, I'm going to need to look into getting the alternator fixed or getting another alternator. But yeah, I'm going to continue this video tomorrow, so I'll see you in a sec. Hello, right, into the next day, and I'm around the garage. I've actually been around here quite a while, having a look at the alternator and the wiring and stuff, and I've been testing various things on the alternator, bypassing wires and you know, just seeing what's going on. Now this Nippon Denso alternator, the way it's wired, you have a switched live, which is one of the wires on this multi-plug. By the way, these multi-plugs you can actually get from Car Builder Solutions, and that's also the same multi-plug that the Car Builder Solutions windscreen washer pump uses. But anyway, so as I say, I've been bypassing different things and testing out different things, and basically I've come to the conclusion that the wire that goes from that multi-plug, the other wire, which is the one that goes to the dash light, is what's at fault. I've set up this bypass wire now, so one end of the wire going into that plug and the other end of that test wire I've actually got going into the correct side of the dash light. So now when I put the ignition on, the first click, the light comes on, and when I fire the car up, as you can see, the light goes out when you fire it up. It actually goes out when it's cranking, so the alternator seems to be putting up enough voltage even when it's cranking for that light to go out. So yeah, that light's now working as it should. And now when I put the voltmeter onto the battery, it's making well over 14 volts, so the battery is charging as it should. So what that means is if I replace the wire that goes from the dash light to that multi-plug, everything should be sweet. Now I'm actually going to go down the road and get something to eat quickly before I start doing that wiring, but on the way I'm going to stop off at Rob's workshop and see what he's been up to with my dad's Mark III. Alright, so I'm at Rob's workshop, and as you can see, this front wing has now got some filler in this other dent that Rob found. Still needs to block that down. And if we look at the passenger side rear arch, it's now got first coat of primer on it. Such a good shape now. A couple of little bits of filler in there that need finalising. This is looking a million times better than I was ever going to get it. I know Rob spent a lot of time on it though. And if we come around this side, how you doing, Rob?
How you doing, lads?
Yeah, this side is also looking really, really, really good. And into the driver's side door shut. A little bit of filler in here that needs shaping, and yeah, that should be ready for some primer soon as well. Right, so as I say, I'm going to go and get some grub now. You hungry, mate?
Starving.
All right, I'll get you some grub as well then. Oh, by the way, Rob is looking for a set of uprated half shafts to go in a Escort English axle. So if any of you guys out there have got any half shafts like that for sale, definitely get in touch with me via social media or drop me an email. And the links to my social media and my email address are in the description of this video. Cool. All right, I'll see you in a bit and I'll bring you some grub.
Happy days.
All right, so I'm back. I've actually been here quite a while, and I decided to try and figure out exactly where in that wire the problem is. So first, I tested continuity from the bulb holder to this plug here. This is the multi-plug for the dash, and that was all good. Then I tested from the other half of that multi-plug to this multi-plug over here. The middle one of those is the alternator light wire, and that basically plugs through into the engine bay there, and yeah, that was good. And then into the engine bay, here's the other side of that multi-plug, and I tested from the middle pin to this plug that plugs into the alternator, and I didn't have continuity. So I started probing for continuity from the plug down this wire. So first, I dug my probe into this wire here, just to test the continuity from there to there, and that was all good. So then I went down further, and that blue wire has been connected to this yellow wire, and I probed from that yellow wire to this plug, and there's no continuity. So basically that means that the break in the wire is in between there and here. So it just shows that it's worth, you know, systematically going through and testing things with the voltmeter. You know, when I came around here today, I was fully expecting to just have to buy a new alternator. In fact, I nearly ordered one this morning from Retro Ford, you know, just so I could potentially get it here tomorrow. So that would have been a waste of money. And again, if I didn't come around here just now and spend a bit more time trying to pinpoint where the fault was in the wiring, I would have ended up replacing all that wiring rather than just that little section. Anyway, I'm going to get the soldering iron out and the heat shrink and replace that bit of wire, and I'll catch up with you afterwards when I've plugged it all back together, and fingers crossed it'll be working sweet. All right, so all the wiring's now back together. I actually couldn't find any solder, but I've already got the heat shrink on the wires ready, and I've put tape around the joint, so yeah, as soon as I get some more solder I can just pull this black stuff off the wires, take the tape off, solder it, and then slide the heat shrink down and heat it up. But yeah, it's all plugged in, got the battery plugged in now, got all this wiring put back how it should be, and I've got the dashboard back in properly as well. So now when we turn the key on, we've got the magic red light, turn the indicator off, and when we start her up, the light goes out. And with the voltmeter hooked up to the battery, we're now seeing over 14 volts, which is perfect. Sweet. So what that means is Esther is now ready for an MOT. I do need to pump the tyres up and I need to bend the tabs on the anti-roll bar brackets. But yeah, other than that, she is ready. It's probably going to have to be done tomorrow now. I think it's a bit late to get one done this afternoon. But in the next video, you'll be able to see if she passed or not. If you thought this video was any good, please do give it a thumbs up and a share. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Click subscribe to keep up to date with all my future uploads, and check the links in the description to my social media and my website. I'll also leave my email address down there for anyone who wants to contact me. But other than that, until next time, thanks for watching.